Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today we're embarking on what truly feels like an Aladdin's global adventure as we explore the remarkable story of Wuling.
Oh, yeah, well
You
lit.
might recognize the name from the streets of China, where their vehicles are often affectionately called the God car. But honestly, their journey is way more incredible than you might imagine.
Definitely.
Picture this. A company that began as like a humble local tractor factory in a city few outside China had ever heard of, Luzhu.
Right, Luzu.
And then, against seemingly impossible odds, transformed into this almost mythical presence in the global automotive industry.
It's quite the story. Our mission today is to really unpack how this seemingly marginal, local state-owned enterprise managed everything.
Everything meaning.
Well, how it navigated incredibly complex policy landscapes, how it masterfully leveraged powerful international partnerships, and maybe most critically, how it developed this almost uncanny, intuitive understanding of its core market. So this deep dive will reveal precisely how Wuling achieved a level of success so profound that Forbes magazine famously declared one of its models the most important car on Earth.
That Forbes cover was something else.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
We'll trace its humble origins, we'll dissect its unique and, frankly, highly effective business model, and explore how it continues to adapt and innovate even now in the incredibly dynamic, competitive age of electric vehicles.
Yeah.
It's a story just brimming with unexpected resilience, strategic brilliance, and a really profound connection to the daily lives of millions.
Absolutely. And for many of us who lived in China, Wuling vehicles, especially those iconic models like the Wuling Sunshine, they weren't just transport, were they?
No, not at all.
They were an indispensable, almost invisible part of daily life. I vividly remember growing up in a county town and later around the urban-rural fringes near my university campus. Wuling minivans, often operating as these unofficial black cabs, were just everywhere outside school gates, always waiting, ready to ferry people and their goods day in, day out.
The go-to option.
Yeah. For countless individuals and small businesses, they were often the most important transport choice beyond public transit. The sheer prevalence was, frankly, astonishing. By 2009, the Wuling Sunshine model alone, get this,
Yeah.
had already surpassed 2 million units in circulation.
Yeah. 2 million.
To put that in perspective, that's more than the entire annual car sales of many developed countries back then.
It's truly fascinating how deeply ingrained Wuling became in the everyday fabric of Chinese life.
Yeah.
And that deep integration is precisely what Forbes magazine captured so powerfully in their 2010 cover story.
The most important car on Earth one.
Exactly. That bold, provocative declaration. They weren't making a statement about luxury or, cutting-edge technology.
No, clearly not.
Instead, their observation was rooted in the vehicle's unparalleled utility, its profound accessibility to the masses, and its sheer penetration into the lives and livelihoods of ordinary Chinese people, particularly outside the major cities. It was a vehicle that really embodied the spirit of China's economic ascent, from the ground up.
I have an even earlier, very personal connection to Wuling. My hometown is Ningbo, a coastal city in Zhejiang province, which was already, relatively economically developed by the late 90s.
Okay, Ningbo. Developed early.
But even there, the streets were constantly filled with these distinctive, sort of shallow blue, Wuling Huodi mini trucks.
Huodi, low-bed cargo vehicle, right?
Exactly. And they were instantly recognizable, utilitarian, robust design. This was even before Wuling had partnered with SAIC-GM. It was still the independent Luzhu Wuling.
Right, pre-JV.
And these mini trucks, likely reverse-engineered from some Japanese Kai-car derivative, they solved a truly massive logistical problem for everyday people.
How so?
Well, before they were everywhere, small businesses, individual entrepreneurs, even families needing to move large appliances like fridges or washing machines, they had to rely on these cumbersome, often dangerous three-wheeled carts, or what we call huangyuche.
Those tricycles, yeah.
The Wuling mini trucks were a revelation. Safer, significantly faster, far more efficient. I remember a fixed price, 8 yuan, for a 4-kilometer trip, an essential service for the emerging private economy back then.
8 yuan!
They were basically the backbone of informal logistics, enabling commerce at a really grassroots level.
And this continuity of Wuling's fundamental role is, I think, one of its most remarkable attributes.
What do you mean?
Well, from those early crucial cargo and passenger transport solutions in the 90s, Wuling vehicles have just seamlessly evolved to become an indispensable tool, even for modern tech-enabled delivery services like Wola,
Oh yeah, Willows uses them a ton.
operating across all tiers of Chinese cities. It's a powerful symbol of Wuling's consistent relevance and its profound adaptability throughout different, rapidly changing eras of China's development.
Mm.
It's like a continuous, unbroken thread in the country's modernization narrative,
Mm.
a testament to understanding fundamental human and commercial needs.
So, considering this remarkable journey from such humble beginnings, it really begs the question, how does Wuling's storied past translate to its stature in the global automotive landscape today?
Right, because it's not just history.
Exactly. Because as of 2024, SAIC-GM-Wuling has transformed into a truly significant asset, a big leg, people call it.
A big leg, yeah.
Not just for SAIC Group China's second-largest state-owned automaker by sales, but quite remarkably, for General Motors on a global scale. This isn't just domestic success anymore, it's about international strategic importance.
Its critical contribution really cannot be overstated. When you look at the numbers, they tell a very clear story.
Vamonos.
Okay, so SAIC Group's total vehicle sales in 2024 were 4.01 million units. Pretty big number.
Huge.
And of that impressive figure, SAIC-GM-Wuling contributed an astounding 1.34 million units domestically, plus another 20,000 or so from its Indonesian subsidiary.
Okay, so a massive chunk.
A massive chunk. Now, here's where the significance truly becomes apparent. If you contrast that with SAIC-GM's own struggles in the same period.
They're Buicks and Chevys and Cadillacs.
Exactly. They only sold about 435,000 units of their higher-end passenger vehicles, so you immediately see Wuling's outsized impact.
Wow. So when SAIC-GM reports their sales.
Right. When they report those consolidated sales figures, which often look much higher, it's because they're including Wuling's substantial numbers. And the same principle applies to GM's global reports.
Ah, I see.
Wuling's output consistently boosts GM's reported global sales volumes, underscoring its absolutely critical contribution to their overall financial performance and market positioning. It acts as a crucial volume driver for them globally.
This truly leads us to the fundamental question then. How on earth did a marginal local state-owned enterprise from, let's face it, relatively remote city like Luzhu manage to grow into such a vital player for these automotive giants?
It's an amazing story.
It's truly a testament to a unique, almost improbable path. And what's particularly insightful here, I think, is that Wuling's journey often draws direct parallels to another, perhaps more globally recognized microvehicle specialist, Suzuki.
Yes, absolutely. The comparison between Wuling and Suzuki is a point of frequent discussion among automotive analysts, and for very good reason. Both companies really began their journeys by manufacturing microvehicles, what are known in Japan as kei cars, and their derivatives.
Right, the tiny ones.
Exactly. And their core strengths are strikingly similar. Both excel at exceptionally rigorous cost control
Legendary cost control.
and possess truly unique insights into microvehicle development and, crucially, a deep understanding of the market for these compact vehicles, specifically in the A0 and A0 segments.
Those are the smallest passenger car categories, right? Focusing on city driving and affordability.
Precisely. Urban mobility affordability, that's their sweet spot.
It's almost like they share a common entrepreneurial DNA or something. I remember reading about Suzuki's cost control philosophy. One executive famously said something like, they absolutely cannot have the expenses of Toyota or Nissan.
Right, because their whole model is different.
Yeah, their market position, their business model, it's fundamentally different. There are even anecdotes, probably apocryphal, of visitors to Suzuki offices seeing the air conditioning turned off if it wasn't, like, boiling hot.
Ah, that extreme frugality.
Exactly. And you can see a similar mindset, a similar spirit of lean operations and efficiency, deeply embedded in Wuling's corporate culture, too. It's a core part of their identity, isn't it? And a key driver of their success.
Definitely. And connecting this to the bigger picture, Wuling and Suzuki also had a certain strategic substitutability for General Motors.
Ah, interesting. How so?
Well, GM historically held a significant stake in Suzuki, at one point owning up to 20% of its shares, I believe.
Right.
And they actively sold Suzuki-based microvehicles under the Chevrolet brand in various Southeast Asian markets. Small Chevys that were really Suzukis.
Okay, makes sense.
However, after GM solidified its partnership with Wuling in 2002, we observed a clear and deliberate strategic shift. GM gradually divested its Suzuki shares.
Sold off.
And in those very same Southeast Asian markets, systematically replaced the Chevrolet-branded Suzuki microvehicles with Chevrolet-branded Wuling models.
Ah, so a direct swap.
A direct swap. It was a clear, if maybe unstated, strategic transition. It signaled GM's new preference for Wuling as its key partner in the micro-vehicle segment, especially for developing and emerging markets.
That makes perfect strategic sense for GM then. They found a new partner, maybe one that was even more aligned with their needs for accessible, high-volume micro vehicles at the right cost.
Exactly.
However, their similarities, interestingly, also extend to their challenges, don't they?
They do indeed. Both Wuling and Suzuki have historically struggled quite significantly, actually, when attempting to move up to larger, more premium vehicle segments.
Like compact cars or mid-sized sedans and SUVs.
Precisely. This is what we often refer to as the doing addition challenge in the automotive industry, and it's surprisingly difficult for companies rooted in the value segment.
Why is that so hard? You'd think success would breed success.
Well, the key insight here isn't just about Suzuki or Wuling. It's kind of a fundamental truth in the auto industry. The unique strengths that lead to dominance in one market segment, like extreme cost control and purely utilitarian design, can become unforeseen obstacles when attempting to move up to higher value propositions.
Okay.
Developing larger, more sophisticated vehicles demands substantially greater R&D investment, a completely different design philosophy focusing on aesthetics, comfort, tech.
Things that cost money and don't necessarily fit the low-cost model.
Exactly. And it requires a profound understanding of how to justify higher product value beyond just low cost. How do you build brand prestige? Suzuki's failed attempt with the Kizashi sedan is a prime cautionary example.
The Kizashi, yeah, I remember that. Didn't last long.
No, it was their largest self-developed model, and honestly, it was a respectable effort technically, but it just didn't resonate with consumers in key markets like China and the US. It ultimately led to its quiet withdrawal. It starkly illustrates the inherent difficulty of this addition process and how challenging it is to shift brand perception once you're known for being cheap and cheerful, basically.
So this leads us to a critical question for Wuling's future trajectory. Can Wuling, which is so deeply rooted in the production of micro vehicles and cost effectiveness, can they transcend this historical challenge that even a seasoned player like Suzuki has faced?
That's the multi-million-dollar question, isn't it?
To really grasp this, I think we need to go back to the very beginning of Wuling's story. Let's unpack this. Wuling's origins are firmly in the 1980s, right? A really transitional period for many early Chinese automakers.
Absolutely. A significant number of them, including Wuling's predecessor, were state-owned enterprises, often shifting from manufacturing tractors or heavy machinery, trying to find a new purpose in a changing economy.
And Luzhou, the city, we called it relatively remote, but it wasn't exactly an industrial desert, was it?
No, not at all. That's a crucial point. While it wasn't Shanghai or Guangzhou, Luzhou actually possessed a decent industrial foundation. Even going back further, during the period of the Guanxi clique's rule, it had already established itself as an industrial hub for Guanxi province.
Okay.
It had some legacy military and mechanical manufacturing capabilities. Things like metallurgy, machine tools, even basic automotive component production. This provided a crucial, albeit maybe rudimentary, industrial base for a company like Wuling to emerge from.
And within Luzhou itself, there were actually two distinct automotive routes that developed, wasn't there?
That's right, two main lineages. One stemmed from the Luzhou Agricultural Machinery Factory, later renamed Luzhou Machinery Factory. This enterprise was notable for producing Luzhou's very first truck way back in 1969 under the Luziang brand.
Wow, 69.
Yeah. That truck was based on blueprints transferred from Beijing Auto Works, which was a common way for early Chinese factories to get started. This factory eventually evolved into what we know today as Dongfeng Luzhou Motors.
Okay, so that's one branch.
The other lineage, and Wuling's direct ancestor, was the Liuzhou Tractor Factory, which, through various transformations, became the Liuzhou Mini Vehicle Factory, and then, ultimately, Wuling.
And this is where it gets really interesting, right? The Luzhou Tractor Factory found itself an early and quite dramatic casualty of China's sweeping economic reforms in the early 1980s.
A huge shock to their system. The profound societal change brought about by the dissolution of the People's Communes, which had been the primary, state-subsidized customers for tractors, led to an immediate and sharp decline in tractor demand.
Their main market just vanished.
Pretty much overnight. This sudden existential threat forced them, much like many military enterprises at the time trying to convert to civilian production, to radically pivot and find entirely new market-oriented products.
They were scrambling.
Absolutely scrambling. They initially attempted to diversify into incredibly varied products, from industrial machinery to even, believe it or not, delicate photography equipment. Anything to find a viable path to survival.
Wow, photography equipment. That's a pivot.
It was a sign of the times. And through a bit of, well, accidental discovery, really, a resourceful salesperson from the factory during a business trip stumbled upon these emerging microvehicles.
The light bulb moment?
Kind of. They immediately recognized an opportunity for a product that could serve the burgeoning individual economy. They then skillfully managed to secure a coveted fixed-point production quota for micro-vehicles from the China National Automotive Industry Corporation, or CNAIC.
CNAIC.
I get
That was a central body regulating car production back then.
Exactly. Getting that quota was their crucial entry point into the automotive sector. Their initial approach, well, it was to reverse engineer Suzuki microvehicles,
Yeah.
the popular key vans, compact passenger cars, and mini trucks.
Because the Suzuki link was there right from the start, even if unofficial.
Very early on, foundational, really,
Yeah.
even if it was, shall we say, often clandestine.
So it sounds like they were very keen on foreign partnerships and advanced technology right from the start, almost ahead of their time compared to other SOEs, maybe.
They absolutely were, but their attempts were just fraught with immense difficulty and even scandal.
Scandal, do tell.
Well, Wuling made an early, audacious attempt to bypass CNAIC and directly partner with Suzuki around 1984-85. That effort was summarily thwarted due to direct central government interference. They controlled foreign collaborations tightly back then.
Okay, so that failed. What was the bigger scandal?
That erupted in June 1988. Wuling secretly attempted a deal with Citroën to import production lines for their aging Visa small car.
The Citroën Visa, wow.
Yeah. This was an enormous undertaking, valued at 12.48 million RMB, which was basically their entire capital at the time. They had ambitious plans to produce 10,000 units annually.
How did they think they could get away with that?
Well, they even tried to circumvent stringent government restrictions by registering a joint venture in Hong Kong, believing this offshore entity would allow them to bypass domestic oversight. Very creative, but risky.
So what happened? Did this elaborate plan actually work?
No, it spectacularly failed. This entire audacious scheme was quickly discovered by China's powerful State Discipline Inspection Commission.
Oh, boy.
The fallout was swift and severe. An immediate halt in production, a nationwide circular condemning their actions, and severe repercussions for those involved. It forced Wuling to completely abandon their direct foreign joint venture efforts for a significant period.
So they got slapped down hard.
Very hard. They were effectively told to stick to modifying existing Suzuki products and patiently wait for opportunities. This incident vividly highlights the immense challenges, the bureaucratic hurdles, and the risks faced by a marginal state-owned enterprise like Wuling, operating without strong central backing or political influence in that tightly controlled era. It was a stark lesson in navigating the system.
It truly paints a picture of a company just fighting for every inch of progress, where even small details were a struggle. I heard that even the Wuling logo has a remarkably humble, sort of grassroots origin story.
That's absolutely true. It's another great example of their scrappy beginnings. Apparently, earlier ideas for names like Wuling, which could mean 40, or even diamond, were already registered trademarks.
So they couldn't use them?
Nope. So the current Wuling logo, the one with the 5 red diamonds arranged like a W or a soaring bird, it was remarkably designed essentially on the spot at the Trademark Bureau.
You're kidding.
No, it cost only 60 yuan, which was a negligible sum even then. This anecdote is just a testament to its humble grassroots beginning. It was pretty common for many Chinese auto startups of that era, actually. They often had products rolling off the assembly line and a growing market presence before they even had officially registered trademarks.
Wow. Just make the thing first, worry about the brand later.
Kind of. It speaks to the chaotic yet opportunistic and very pragmatic nature of the early Chinese automotive industry.
Okay, so despite all those setbacks, the tight controls, the failed JV attempts, the crazy logo story, during what we could call their waiting period in the late 80s and 90s, Wuling actually performed remarkably well in the market, didn't they?
They really did. They consistently ranked among the top 3 microvehicle producers in China, competing fiercely with established players like Chang, Hefei, and Chang.
Tough competition.
Very tough. And by 1996-98, Wuling even managed to seize the top spot, overtaking Chang to become the #1 microvehicle producer when Chang ran into some internal operational issues.
So their success wasn't just a flash in the pan.
Not at all. Their sustained success in this nascent segment wasn't accidental. It was a perfect convergence of a rapidly developing market, and Wuling's incredibly astute, unique approach to product development and market penetration.
So what exactly made microvehicles like Wuling so dramatically successful in 90s China? What were the specific factors that made them such a perfect fit for that particular stage of the country's development?
Several crucial factors really converged to create that perfect storm of demand. These Japanese Kai car-based microvans and mini trucks, they just perfectly suited China's unique economic development trajectory and its accelerating pace of urbanization in the 90s. That was a period when per capita GDP reached a crucial threshold, around $600, $700.
Okay, what were the key factors?
Firstly, affordability was absolutely paramount. Priced at tens of thousands of yuan, maybe 3,000, 6,000 USD back then, they were accessible to the burgeoning class of individual entrepreneurs and small business owners, people looking for motorized transport beyond bikes or tricycles.
Right, the first step up.
Exactly. Secondly, maneuverability was a huge advantage. Their compact size was ideal for the often narrow, unreconstructed city streets and unpaved rural roads at the time. They offered unparalleled flexibility in congested environments.
Get anywhere, basically.
Pretty much. And thirdly, versatility was absolutely key. Their cleverly designed large cargo space or adaptable rear beds allowed for both passenger and cargo transport. Fulfilling that dual-use need was essential for small businesses and families.
Carry the goods, carry the family.
Exactly. And it's also important to note that their inherent weaknesses, things like poorer crash safety, lower power output, less stable high-speed performance, these were largely less critical in a China that, at the time, had very few highways and low urban speed limits. Honestly, top speeds of 60 kilometers were often sufficient or even impossible to consistently reach due to road conditions.
Right, context matters. And we saw other dominant transport types of the 90s, like agricultural vehicles, motorcycles. They rapidly declined or shifted focus after the new century, didn't they? Replaced by more advanced vehicles?
Exactly. Many agricultural vehicle makers, for example, pivoted into low-speed electric vehicles, and motorcycle manufacturers diversified into auto production.
So Wuling had an edge.
This context underscores Wuling's unique, enduring advantage. Unlike, say, Tianjin Daihatsu, which quickly perished after 2000 due to internal issues and an inability to adapt. Wuling's profound ability to interpret evolving market needs, combined with crucial internal reforms, positioned it for sustained success, and lacking that three small policy backing.
Which gave preferential treatment to the big state players.
Right, or the inherent advantages of being a military-industrial enterprise. Wuling was effectively forced to be agile, innovative, and relentlessly market-driven. This necessity, born from disadvantage, became its greatest strength.
This agility and market-driven approach clearly led to genuine product innovation, didn't it? Beyond just imitation.
Absolutely. They were, for example, the first among their microvehicle peers to consistently and effectively convert Japanese Kai vans into dual-row seating configurations.
Adding that second row of seats. Seems simple, but important.
Hugely important. This seemingly small modification reflected an incredibly deep, almost intuitive understanding of Chinese user needs. People weren't just transporting goods. They desperately needed to carry both cargo and passengers, often family members or employees, in a single, affordable vehicle. This user-centric thinking became an embedded part of their corporate culture and was a significant driver of their market dominance. They didn't just copy, they adapted and improved for the local context again and again.
So, despite their consistent market success and innovative product development, it sounds like Wuling, like many other state-owned enterprises in the late 1990s, was facing some internal growing pains and inefficiencies. Still an SOE at heart in some ways.
They absolutely were. Despite consistently strong sales figures, underlying problems were accumulating. Their supply chains were often unprofessional, sales networks lacked sophistication, costs were too high, and overall profitability was surprisingly low. It was a classic case of rapid growth masking fundamental operational inefficiencies. GM Yang, Wuling's long-term general manager, was acutely aware of these issues.
GM Yang, right. Key figure.
Very key. He implemented drastic and often painful reforms, making tough decisions like strategically reducing manufacturing capacity and systematically writing off outdated inventory. These were crucial and, in retrospect, very timely steps that transformed Wuling, made it significantly more financially attractive and operationally lean for potential foreign partners.
Cleaning house, basically.
Exactly. Without these rigorous internal self-scans and body sculpting efforts, they simply wouldn't have been appealing to global players like General Motors.
And the regulatory landscape was changing too, correct? The three big, three small policy, which had so tightly restricted foreign joint ventures for decades, was finally starting to ease up around them.
Precisely. Late 90s, early 2000s, this loosening of long-standing restrictions, combined with the fact that many of Wuling's direct microvehicle competitors like Changan, Hafei, Chang'an had already successfully secured foreign partners.
Suzuki, Mazda, Ford.
Right. That put immense pressure on Wuling. They clearly understood that to truly compete in the coming era, especially with China's impending entry into the World Trade Organization, they desperately needed access to advanced technology, modern management practices, and, crucially significant, external capital. The window of opportunity was opening, but they had to seize it.
This dramatically sets the stage for General Motors to enter the picture. GM, for decades, the world's undisputed #1 automaker.
Until 2007, yeah. 76 years straight.
Initially had a rather unclear, even hesitant China strategy, didn't they?
They certainly did. Their approach to the burgeoning Chinese market was initially tentative and unfocused. A significant turning point arrived in the mid-90s with influential figures like Sherry Yang, who aggressively pushed for GM's expansion in China, ultimately leading to the establishment of GM China.
Okay.
By late 1997, GM was pursuing two distinct strategic paths in China. First, a high-end joint venture with SAIC, which eventually became the highly successful SAIC-GM, focusing on passenger cars like Buick and Chevrolet.
Right, the main JV we know.
Second, they sought a household sedan project to capture the mass market. They initially tried partnering with Guangzhou Peugeot for this, but that project ultimately failed due to central government intervention and the prevailing one foreign partner, one Chinese partner rule.
That rule restricted things.
Severely limited the big players initially.
So, with the household sedan project falling through, why did GM turn its sights specifically to Wuling? This seems like quite a significant pivot from their initial focus on higher-end sedans or European compacts.
It's a testament to the power of being at the table and having a certain level of readiness, really. In 1997, during their search for new opportunities, GM's leadership discovered Luzhu Wuling, which, maybe to their surprise, was already China's 10th largest vehicle producer overall.
10th largest already. Wow.
Yeah, and GM's internal projections at the time were that China's nascent auto market would reach 4.5 million units by 2008-2010. Now, that estimate proved to be conservative. The market actually exploded to over 10 million units by then.
Way off.
But GM correctly anticipated that a very significant portion of those sales would be in the rapidly growing low-end segment. Their existing projects, SAIC-GM and Jinbei-GM, a commercial vehicle JV, targeted higher-end passenger vehicles and light trucks. That left a glaring, massive gap in the crucial low-end market for affordable utilitarian vehicles.
And Wuling perfectly filled that void.
Perfectly.
And this is where their broader Asia-Pacific rapid growth strategy came into play, wasn't it?
Exactly. Ray Gruska, who was GM's Asia-Pacific chief and the first SAIC-GM chairman, he spearheaded this particular strategic initiative. He actively sought what he termed non-organic growth.
Non-organic growth, meaning?
Essentially, products and sales volumes that could be consolidated into GM's global financial reports, thereby significantly boosting their global sales figures, but didn't necessarily need to carry GM brands or use proprietary GM technology.
Clever accounting almost. Boosting numbers without GM building everything.
Kind of. And given GM's existing, long-standing alliance and minority stake in Suzuki, microvehicles were a natural and logical fit for this non-organic growth strategy. Furthermore, GM had been quietly developing an interesting technical innovation in the 90s, glass fiber body panel technology.
Plastic car bodies, basically.
Sort of, yeah.
No.
Their R&D believed this could dramatically simplify manufacturing by eliminating capital-intensive processes like metal stamping and welding lines, making it ideal for rapid deployment in developing countries. They even developed a concept car dubbed Qilin at their Pan-Asia Technical Automotive Center, PATAC, in China, based on this tech.
Okay.
What they needed was a suitable, agile Chinese manufacturer willing and capable of implementing this. And Wuling, with its lean, pragmatic approach, fit the bill perfectly.
And this is where the story truly takes an almost legendary turn with the famous half-business card anecdote. At the 1999 Shanghai Auto Show, right, representatives from Guangxi and Wuling met with SAIC-GM's leadership.
Yes. Chen Hong, who was then the visionary head of SAIC-GM, he extended this truly symbolic and initially maybe bewildering gesture to Wuling's general manager, GM Yang.
What did he do?
He tore his business card in half and gave GM Yang only one half, stating that he would only reunite the two halves when their collaboration succeeded.
Wow, that's bold.
GM Yang was initially confused, maybe even a little insulted, but he later understood the powerful symbolism. It was an ambitious vision, a shared promise of partnership and future success. And internally, GM clearly defined Wuling's role as achieving profitable market share.
Right, you mentioned that. Volume and profit.
Exactly. It wasn't just about numbers. Wuling had to contribute significantly while also being financially profitable. And that strategic goal in hindsight has been incredibly successful, not just in China, but globally for GM.
So it was a profound converging of needs then. Wuling was actively exploring other potential partners, like Dongfeng.
Right. They were looking around, too.
And GM itself was even in discussions with China through its existing alliance with Suzuki. But ultimately, Wuling and GM came together due to this powerful alignment of mutual strategic needs and a shared vision for the low-end market.
Their synergy was just undeniable and quite potent. But let's look at the joint venture structure itself, because on paper, it seemed quite unequal, didn't it?
Yeah, the numbers look skewed.
The final structure saw SAIC, the powerful Shanghai-based automaker, owning 50.1%,
Majority stake.
GM taking 44%, a big chunk, and Liuzhu Wuling holding a seemingly minor 15.9%. What's more, SAIC-GM-Wuling, despite being physically based in Liuzhu, Guangxi, ultimately falls under Shanghai's state-owned asset supervision.
This naturally leads us to a crucial question. Why on earth would Guangxi province or Wuling itself agree to bleed out such a crucial, successful asset for what appeared to be such a small minority stake? It seems counterintuitive from a regional development perspective.
It's a fascinating and nuanced case study in regional development strategy, particularly for China in that era. Guangxi province and Wuling were, at the time, in urgent need of external capital and advanced management expertise. Guangxi was considered a poor, small province with limited financial resources compared to the coastal giants.
Okay.
Wuling itself had already faced multiple failed attempts at securing an IPO, unlike companies like Jiangling. And even a direct acquisition attempt by GM was rejected due to Wuling's insufficient profitability at the time.
So they needed help, basically.
Desperately. SAIC was strategically brought in as a crucial third party, facilitating a complex share transfer process involving state-owned asset reallocation and a significant capital increase, specifically designed to allow GM to invest without Wuling undergoing an IPO. And the 44% stake for GM was absolutely critical for them.
Why 44% specifically?
It directly allowed GM to consolidate Wuling's substantial sales and revenue into its global financial reports. That was key to their profitable market share strategy, boosting their global numbers without heavy investment in new GM-branded product development.
Ah, the consolidation accounting again. Very important for GM. So, despite the seemingly small initial stake for Wuling and Guangxi, what were the tangible long-term benefits that justified such a seemingly unequal deal?
The benefits were immense and multifaceted, far outweighing the initial shareholding percentage. Firstly, GM immediately introduced its rigorous global manufacturing standards and quality control systems. This significantly upgraded Wuling's production quality and efficiency.
Like bringing them up to global standards.
Exactly. For example, Wuling became the first micro-vehicle maker in China to transition from outdated carbureted engines to modern electronic fuel injection, using a cutting-edge Motorola system. This upgrade was pivotal, enabling them to comply with China's early emissions regulations around 2000, giving them a significant technological lead over competitors.
That's a big deal. What else?
Secondly, GM's extensive intelligence network proved invaluable. GM tipped Wuling off about the availability of idle manufacturing capacity at Qingdao Zhong.
The tobacco company that tried making cars.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Briefly and unsuccessfully. Wuling astutely acquired this facility, which was absolutely crucial for their strategic expansion into the lucrative North China market, providing them with a ready-made production base. Super smart move.
That's very smart, capitalizing on an opportunity presented by a larger partner. And I understand there's a truly illuminating anecdote about the transfer of engineering know-how that highlights the deeper value of this partnership, beyond just capital or factories.
This is where the partnership truly shone and illustrates invaluable knowledge transfer. It's a great story. For a considerable period, Wuling engineers were utterly baffled by a persistent issue with the Wuling Sunshine.
What was wrong?
Its tailgate latch would spontaneously open when the vehicle traveled over bumpy or uneven roads.
Oh, that's not good.
Not good at all. They couldn't pinpoint the root cause, so their standard, costly solution was simply to keep replacing the entire tailgates. Just swapping them out. It was a recurring headache.
So what was the real problem?
Through close collaboration with GM engineers who brought decades of experience from diverse global markets, they finally learned a critical trade secret. The issue wasn't the latch itself, but insufficient rigidity in the tailgate panel.
Ah, the metal panel was flexing.
Exactly. It caused the panel to deform slightly on rough roads, inadvertently triggering the latch mechanism. This wasn't just about a quick fix. It was an invaluable transfer of fundamental design knowledge, material science, and rigorous engineering principles. It profoundly elevated Wuling's internal R&D capabilities, allowing them to design more robust, reliable vehicles from the ground up, learning how to engineer properly.
Wow, that's huge. Real deep knowledge transfer.
Absolutely. Thirdly, GM's existing global marketing and distribution network has been absolutely instrumental in Wuling's export efforts. It provided immediate, established channels in key regions like Southeast Asia and Latin America,
Saving them years of building that themselves.
immense amounts of time and resources. For example, it's even plausible that Wuling products could potentially be sold in the U.S. under a GM brand in the future, if not for the current complex U.S.-China trade relations. That network is there.
That's a huge strategic advantage, having that global reach ready-made. And the company logo itself, I'm told, reflects this incredibly deep integration, distinguishing it from other joint ventures.
What's truly fascinating here is that the SAIC-GM-Wuling company logo uniquely combines the distinctive Wuling logo with GM's iconic GM emblem.
Right next to each other.
Side by side, it's the only company globally, outside of GM's wholly owned subsidiaries, to do so. This wasn't a casual decision. It was specifically made by GM China's second president, Bill Murphy, who took calculated risks to ensure the partnership was deeply symbolic and effective. It demonstrated GM's commitment to the Wuling brand as an integral part of its global strategy.
So from Guangqi's perspective,
From Guangxi's provincial government perspective, this seemingly unequal deal reflected a surprisingly forward-thinking economic development philosophy, not seeking ownership, but seeking presence.
interesting phrasing.
It was often articulated as release water to raise fish, a metaphor for prioritizing attracting significant foreign investment for enterprise turnaround, expanding the local industrial base, boosting tax revenue, and creating jobs, rather than rigidly insisting on majority ownership. They played the long game.
So it was a long-term strategic play for regional prosperity rather than a short-term grab for control.
Exactly. And it allowed for a unique model of coexistence. Luzhu Wuling, the original entity, it continues to exist independently today,
Doing what?
focusing on niche areas like vehicle modifications, special purpose vehicles like tourist buses, even some off-road vehicles. Crucially, it intentionally does not compete with SAIC-GM-Wuling. It demonstrates a remarkable good mentality in regional industrial strategy that prioritized overall industrial growth and diversification over internal rivalry.
This is pretty mature, actually.
Yeah. It is, and this collaborative model stands in stark contrast to the path taken by Chery, another prominent Chinese automaker. They also partnered with SAIC around the same time, but eventually went completely independent, with its local government playing a much stronger, more leading role in its development. Both models, interestingly, have proven successful in their own right.
Different paths. Both worked.
And Wuling's success has also profoundly boosted Luzhu's broader mechanical industry, making it a regional highlight and transforming the city into a recognized city of automobiles, a testament to its economic ripple effect.
That brings us to Wuling's truly unique joint venture model, often described as joint venture outside, independent development inside. This is quite rare, isn't it? Especially considering how many joint ventures historically often suppress or even eliminate the local partner's original R&D capabilities.
This leads us to a profound question about corporate strategy and national development. Unlike many joint ventures that lead to the absorption or diminishment of the local partner's original R&D capabilities, How did Wuling not only preserve, but actually enhance its independent development capabilities within this new structure?
Yeah. How do they pull that off?
I believe there are a few key interconnected reasons. Firstly, Wuling already possessed a robust history of independent product development and a certain baseline level of engineering capability before the GM partnership. Remember, their inherent disadvantages as a marginal state-owned enterprise had, paradoxically, forced them to be self-reliant and innovative out of necessity. They came to the table with existing skills.
Right. They weren't starting from zero.
Definitely not. Secondly, GM's corporate culture played a crucial role. GM, historically built on a decentralized model of acquisitions dating back to Alfred Sloan's era, maintained a corporate culture that was more financially driven and allowed its local subsidiaries significant operational autonomy.
Well, less top-down control than some others.
Generally, yes. And crucially, GM itself lacked internal microvehicle R&D expertise, having previously relied heavily on Suzuki for that segment. This meant they didn't have existing internal solutions or designs they wanted to impose on Wuling. They were looking for a partner with expertise in that specific niche.
So GM essentially took a relatively hands-off approach to Wuling's core product development for the domestic market, while still providing significant support for quality upgrades and overseas expansion.
Precisely. This dynamic fostered what has been termed the fourth model of joint ventures. In this model, the joint venture itself is largely external in terms of ownership and financial consolidation, but core independent development remains internal, allowing Wuling to maintain both its distinct brand identity and its crucial R&D rights.
Keeping the soul of the company intact, almost.
You could say that. This specific model was relatively rare in the early 2000s, when most JVs involved deeper integration and often the fading of the Chinese brand. However, this model is becoming an increasingly common and powerful trend in the global auto industry, especially as Chinese automakers rapidly grow stronger and more capable.
We're seeing that now, aren't we?
Absolutely. We now frequently observe reverse joint ventures where foreign partners take minority stakes, like Exxon Volkswagen or Leapmotor Stellantis, or Chinese companies acquiring significant stakes in foreign brands like Geely holding a stake in Mercedes-Benz and partnering with Renault for overseas ventures. Wuling's pioneering approach to this unique JV model truly represents a crucial trend to watch in the evolving landscape of global automotive partnerships.
Shifting gears a bit, let's talk about the specific God car models themselves. The Wuling Sunshine, the Rongguang, and the Hongguang. What's fascinating here is that their unprecedented success wasn't accidental or simply a matter of low price. It genuinely stems from Wuling's deep, almost intuitive understanding of China's unique urbanization patterns and its specific economic development needs.
Absolutely. While these models certainly drew inspiration and basic architectural elements from Japanese car designs, Wuling, along with competitors like Dongfeng Shakang, heavily and intelligently modified them to suit the very specific, often harsh Chinese conditions and user demands.
Right, it wasn't just a copy-paste job.
Far from it. Take the Wuling Sunshine, for example. It was effectively reverse-engineered and significantly improved upon the Tongguan Star, which itself was China's first non-flat front microvan. Wuling focused relentlessly on user-centric design principles. They enlarged the rear door opening, lowered the floor, and meticulously reduced the step height for much easier cargo loading.
Thinking about the person actually using it.
Yeah. Exactly. This thoughtful design created a significantly larger and more accessible cargo space, making it immensely practical for small businesses.
And that kind of heavy-duty utilitarian application clearly required a lot of specialized engineering adaptation, didn't it, to handle the rough roads and overloading?
It absolutely did. To reliably handle the often extreme loads and challenging road conditions common in China, Wuling engineers made a crucial foundational change. They replaced the Chang'an Star's original semi-independent coil spring suspension with a much more robust, non-independent leaf spring suspension, like you find on trucks.
Ah, leaf springs.
Tougher.
Much tougher for carrying heavy loads.
This seemingly minor change had a profound impact. It significantly honed Wuling's internal engineering capabilities, pushing them far beyond simple imitation and into genuine context-specific innovation. Then came the Rongguang, a truly groundbreaking model launched around 2005. A pivotal moment for Wuling engineers occurred during a visit to Japan.
What happened there?
They had this crucial realization. China simply did not have the same strict car size restrictions as Japan. Those Japanese regulations were rooted in their post-war resource scarcity and later tax incentives for smaller vehicles. Recognizing this, Wuling engineers made a bold decision.
And this is where it gets truly ingenious. They audaciously increased the vehicle lengths to a full 4 meters, and crucially, the width by 10 centimeters. That extra 10 centimeters sounds negligible on paper, but it was a genuine game changer in the market, right?
A monumental game changer. Their meticulous market research, which involved direct conversations with countless small business owners and vendors, revealed a critical detail.
The beer boxes.
The beer boxes. That seemingly small additional 10-centimeter width allowed for one more box of beer or an extra standard crate of produce to be loaded side by side. For these small entrepreneurs who literally measured their livelihoods and daily profits in terms of transport capacity, that extra space was an absolute tangible economic advantage. It shows Wuling's incredible attention to granular, real-world user needs, a deep understanding of their customers' bottom line.
Amazing. Paying attention to the little things that matter most.
Exactly. Then, with the Hongguang, launched beyond 2010, Wuling once again demonstrated its foresight by recognizing evolving user needs. By then, many original cargo users also increasingly needed to transport passengers comfortably, and a growing segment of rural users required vehicles capable of reliably navigating unpaved, challenging village roads.
So improving comfort and capability.
Right. Wuling responded by significantly enhancing interior comfort and, critically, changing the vehicle architecture from a mid-engine front-wheel drive layout to a front-engine rear-wheel drive configuration.
Why was that change important?
That crucial engineering change dramatically improved traction and climbing ability, making the Hongguang far more suitable for those challenging rural roads and mountain passes. Better grip when loaded or going uphill.
And they actively resisted simply imitating successful overseas models that might have seemed like an obvious choice, like that Toyota Avanza.
Yes. Wuling consistently resisted simply imitating successful overseas models like the Toyota Avanza, a popular MPV in Southeast Asia, which ultimately failed to gain traction when introduced to China, for instance, as the FAW Hyma Frema. Even Suzuki's own Landy model struggled. This highlights Wuling's superior localization strategy and profound market understanding. They knew their market better.
Makes sense. And it wasn't just the product, was it? They also built out their network.
Absolutely crucial. Beyond the product itself, Wuling also made significant strategic investments in building out its extensive dealership network, and 4S stores those comprehensive sales, service, spare parts, and survey centers. This widespread network was absolutely crucial for deep market penetration, ensuring proximity and support for their dispersed customer base. You could get parts and service easily, even in smaller towns.
Right, keeping the cars on the road.
There's an often cited internal company news release that truly encapsulates their product development philosophy. It proudly detailed the cargo capacity of a Wuling mini truck in remarkably specific real-world terms.
The list of stuff it could carry.
Exactly. 13 cubic meters. Enough for 43 boxes of 20 gin fruit, 74 boxes of 24-bottle Nongfu spring water, 7 cases of 12-bottle beer, 16 chicken turnover boxes, or 12 market-ready hogs.
12 hogs, that's specific.
Isn't it? You can almost imagine Wuling engineers literally bringing these items onto the factory floor, meticulously testing and optimizing the cargo space for maximum utility for their target users. It's intensely practical.
That's an incredible level of practical detail. It sounds like Wuling vehicles truly became the capillaries connecting China's rapidly developing urban and rural areas, facilitating the massive, unprecedented movement of goods and people enabled by the country's extensive highway and village road expansion.
Exactly. They were the lifeblood of local commerce and transport. This naturally leads us to consider a fascinating regulatory and cultural dynamic. Why did Wuling microvans flourish so dramatically where pickup trucks, which are common working-class vehicles in North America, were largely restricted or failed to gain widespread acceptance in China?
Yeah, why no pickups?
The answer largely lies in local policy. Many Chinese cities imposed bans or severe restrictions on open-bed pickups in urban areas, often due to concerns about aesthetics, cargo security, or even traffic congestion.
So the vans slipped through the cracks, regulation-wise.
Pretty much. This regulatory environment unwittingly created a perfect niche, clearing the path for Wuling's enclosed cargo vans and minivans to dominate the light commercial vehicle segment as they were exempt from these specific pickup restrictions.
And this unique, hyper-localized product development approach also found surprising success internationally, didn't it? It wasn't just a China thing.
Yes, Wuling's core strengths proved remarkably transferable. The Wuling Hongguang Fief, for example, which is branded as the Chevrolet Tornado van or N400 in certain markets,
A Chevy Tornado.
has sold remarkably well in Latin American markets, notably Mexico. In 2024, it sold over 18,000 units there, accounting for a significant 9% of GM Mexico's total sales. It consistently outperforms previous GM models in terms of cargo space and overall value, clearly demonstrating that Wuling's deep understanding of utilitarian, affordable mobility translates effectively to other developing markets with similar needs.
Let's shift our focus to a pivotal moment in Wuling's more recent history, GM's reinvestment. In 2009-2010, amid GM's deep financial crisis and subsequent bankruptcy, that period where they lost their 70-year reign as the global #1 automaker, the Chinese market, and especially Wuling's robust performance, truly became a lifeline for the struggling giant, didn't it?
It's hard to overstate how absolutely critical this period was for GM. Facing the prospect of collapse and losing its long-held global leadership, the Chinese market emerged as a vital financial and strategic pillar. At that time, GM was still intensely focused on snatching back the global top spot from Toyota.
A different era for GM's strategy.
A very different era, a stark contrast to its current, more selective global retrenchment, where it has largely abandoned major markets like Europe and much of Asia. So, with Wuling performing strongly, GM seized the opportunity to strengthen its control and ensure that profitable volume continued to flow into its global reports.
So they wanted more of Wuling.
Exactly. They proposed buying an additional 10% stake in Wuling. In return for this increased shareholding, GM offered Wuling the Baojun passenger car brand.
Ah, so that's where Baojun came from. GM gave it to them.
Effectively, yes, giving SAIC-GM-Wuling a dedicated passenger car marquee, and GM also actively encouraged its global suppliers to establish operations in Guangxi Province, bringing further industrial upgrading and investment to the region.
And Guangxi Province and Wuling themselves readily welcomed this increased stake and the accompanying strategic benefits, I assume. Seemed like a good deal for them, too.
Absolutely. Guangxi wholeheartedly welcomed this deal, not just for the immediate capital infusion, but more importantly, for its own long-term ambitions to develop a stronger passenger car brand and for the broader industrial upgrading that the arrival of new international suppliers would bring.
Right. More jobs, more tech.
Exactly. The deal, valued at over $50 million, a significant jump from the $30 million valuation a decade prior, reflecting Wuling's exponential increase in value to around $500 million, was remarkably smooth and swift. This smoothness was a direct result of the converging mutual needs and clear strategic alignment between all parties involved. Everyone got something they wanted.
So Baojun became Wuling's ambitious passenger car dream then. Initially with that distinctive horsehead logo, later evolving into a diamond shape, clearly signaling SAIC-GM-Wuling's intended upgrade into the more premium passenger car segment.
Correct. However, Baojun's development, despite its strong backing, faced considerable challenges due to intense competition from an explosion of other joint venture-produced vehicles in China's rapidly burgeoning passenger car market. It wasn't easy.
Tough market to crack.
Very tough. Baojun's trajectory also subtly illustrates some of the internal brand conflicts within GM, as Baojun models sometimes found themselves in direct competition with lower-end Chevrolet models in the Chinese market.
Cannibalizing sales.
Potentially, yeah. Yet what's interesting is how this dynamic has evolved into a strategic strength. Baojun vehicles are now increasingly sold as Chevrolets in various developing markets, directly fulfilling GM's earlier non-organic growth strategy by leveraging Wuling's low-cost engineering for global volume.
Ah, so they export Baojun designs as Chevys now. Clever.
Very clever use of resources.
This brings us back to the recurring struggle to move up that we discussed earlier, the inherent challenge for companies rooted in value segments. In 2020, Wuling introduced a silver label for its more global, higher-priced passenger vehicles and kept the red label for its domestic, value-focused commercial and passenger vehicles, a clear split.
Right, trying to differentiate. Models like the Wuling Kaiji Hybrid, priced at 100,000, 150,000 yuan, roughly 14,000, 21,000 USD, clearly show Wuling's deliberate upward exploration.
Trying to climb the ladder.
It is indeed a highly difficult doing addition process, requiring a fundamentally different approach to product development, branding, and customer expectations. This raises that crucial question again for Wuling's long-term strategy. Does Wuling possess the inherent ability to justify a higher product value and effectively compete in these more premium price segments, similar to the struggle Suzuki faced with the larger cars like the Kizashi?
Yeah, can they make the leap?
The skills that make you excellent microvehicles, extreme cost control, deep understanding of basic utility, pragmatic engineering, don't always directly translate to premium segments where customers prioritize vastly different attributes. Brand prestige, advanced technology, refined driving dynamics, sophisticated infotainment
A
systems.
different game.
Completely different game. Looking to the immediate future, Wuling is launching the Baojun, a substantial 5-meter-long sedan priced in the 150,000 200,000 yuan range, about $21,000 $28,000 USD. This is their largest and most ambitious passenger car yet.
A big bet for them.
A truly crucial test of their ability to genuinely move up and compete in a more premium space. We'll be watching that one closely.
So we've seen Wuling navigate the internal combustion engine era with unparalleled success, especially in the microvehicle segment, becoming a god car for utility and affordability. Now, as the entire automotive world pivots dramatically towards electrification, Wuling has once again emerged with what many are calling the god car of the EV era, the Wuling Hongguang Mini EV.
Yes, the Mini EV.
A phenomenon.
This tiny vehicle is undeniably one of China's cheapest EVs, priced incredibly low at just 20,000, 30,000 yuan, maybe $3,000, $4,000 USD.
Somewhere in that ballpark, yeah. Astonishingly cheap.
And it has completely surprised both domestic and international markets with its sheer affordability and remarkable practicality. It truly is a phenomenon that redefined expectations for affordable electric mobility. And here's where the Genesis story gets truly fascinating again.
Oh, not just a random idea.
Not at all. The Mini EV's origin can be traced directly to Zhoumadian, a city in Henan province. This region was known for its massive volume of unregulated, low-speed electric vehicles, or LSEVs.
The old man's happy cars.
Exactly. Those rudimentary, often unsafe electric vehicles used extensively for short-distance transport. The local government in Zhoumadian, grappling with the safety and regulatory challenges posed by these LSEVs, specifically requested that Wuling develop a legitimate, safe, and regulated product to replace them.
So it was a direct response to a local problem.
A direct response. And Wuling's brilliant move wasn't simply to copy LSEVs. Instead, they ingeniously adapted an existing internal EV project, the E100, through a process of subtraction.
Subtraction, taking things away.
Exactly, removing non-essential features, streamlining the design to create the incredibly compact E150, which ultimately became the Hongguang Mini EV. It was a perfect example of tailored innovation, stripping it down to the bare essentials needed.
That's brilliant. So it was designed with a very specific, underserved market need and a clear regulatory push in mind.
Precisely. The Mini EV is tiny. You can quite literally fit 2 in 1 standard parking space, making it incredibly agile in congested urban areas.
Perfect for cities.
Yet, it remarkably seats 4 people, maybe not comfortably for long trips, but it seats 4 and offers decent storage capacity. Crucially, it provides over 100 kilometers of range, which is more than ideal for daily commuting and errands in China's 3rd and 4th tier cities and county towns, where LSEVs were common but problematic.
So it hit the sweet spot.
It hit the sweet spot perfectly. It quickly became a runaway bestseller, selling over 500,000 units annually in 2021-22, accounting for nearly half of Wuling's entire total sales volume at its peak. It tapped into a massive, previously ignored segment of the market.
But I imagine that kind of runaway success in a new category has drawn a lot of intense competition from other major players now. They aren't alone anymore.
Oh, absolutely. The Mini EV now faces growing and fierce competition from larger, more established traditional automakers like BYD, Geely, and Chery. They're now aggressively entering the A0 segment EV market with highly competitive models like BYD's Dolphin and Seagull.
The Seagull is everywhere now.
It really is. While Wuling has wisely introduced other larger EV models like the Bingo to diversify its offering, the market for low-end EVs is becoming intensely competitive, and Wuling's early mover advantage is gradually eroding. The price wars are brutal.
And that dual credit system advantage they had.
That's diminishing too. That was a policy in China where EV sales generated tradable credits that could be sold to other automakers lagging in electrification. That was a nice revenue stream for Wuling initially, but it's also diminishing in value as more and more automakers transition to EVs and generate their own credits, reducing demand for Wulings.
So the easy money is gone.
Pretty much.
And China is also moving to more formally regulate those LSEVs you mentioned, the old man's happy cars, bringing them out of the gray area. That must affect things too.
Yes, that regulatory push will further formalize and shape the market for small EVs, creating both challenges and opportunities. It hindered companies like Shandong's Reading and even Lixiang's early SEV project, remember that? A two-seater designed for short urban trips that never really took off due to the regulatory uncertainty.
Right, so formalizing the rules might help new players, but maybe hurt the mini EV's unique position.
Could go either way. But this naturally leads us to an important question for the global automotive landscape. Do small EVs, particularly those modeled on the Mini EV's success, have a future beyond China?
What do you think?
I think the answer is a resounding yes, absolutely,
Hmm.
especially in Europe, where you have narrow city streets, chronic parking difficulties, and changing youth car ownership trends. These are driving demand for compact, efficient urban mobility solutions. Look at the success of smart cars over the years, or Renault's Twingo-like EV, the
Yeah,
ID.
the urban environment
Yeah.
argument.
Exactly. And there's also immense potential in developing countries across Asia, Africa, and Latin America markets like Indonesia, India, Vietnam, where small EVs can serve as direct, safer, and more environmentally friendly replacements for traditional, often hazardous transport like tuk-tuks or two-wheelers.
Replacing the three-wheelers again, like the original Wuling trucks did.
It's a similar dynamic, and Wuling's Mini EV is already seeing initial success in Indonesia, demonstrating this global applicability. The global market, particularly in dense urban environments and rapidly emerging economies, has a strong and growing demand for such practical, affordable, electric mobility solutions.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Wuling's incredible journey, it's clear their sales have largely plateaued, maybe around 1 million to 1.5 million units annually since 2009 or so.
Yeah, they hit a certain level and have kind of stayed there, fluctuating a bit.
While this impressive volume makes it larger than, say, Suzuki's global sales today, it does remain a niche player in markets that inherently prefer larger cars, like China's major first-tier cities and,
Yep.
of course, the United States.
That's a fair assessment of their current scale. However, China's vast and incredibly diverse auto market, with annual sales currently hovering around 30 million units, provides ample space for niche players like Wuling to not just survive, but truly thrive.
There's room for everyone, basically.
Pretty much. And this very diversity, fostered by the success of companies like Wuling focusing on specific segments, is immensely valuable for China's broader auto industry, especially in the evolving global trade landscape. It provides a rich source of experience, adaptable products, and cost-effective manufacturing capabilities for export to rapidly growing global South markets.
Where those smaller, affordable vehicles are needed.
Exactly. And potentially even re-entering some developed markets where there's a renewed interest in compact, efficient, and affordable vehicles due to cost of living pressures or environmental concerns.
Truly an Aladdin's global adventure. For a company that started in such humble beginnings, a local tractor factory finding global automotive magic. Wuling's journey from a remote factory in Luzhu to a formidable global force in affordable mobility is just a powerful, compelling story.
It really is.
It profoundly demonstrates how an unwavering focus on the essential needs of everyday people, a genius for ingenious adaptation, and the strategic formation of mutually beneficial alliances can lead to extraordinary, unexpected success.
Absolutely.
The global automotive market is clearly not a winner-takes-all game, is it? There will always be ample space for companies like Wuling and Suzuki, those who relentlessly focus on delivering affordable products for ordinary people.
So understanding Suzuki, and even in some profound ways, becoming like Suzuki, has been a significant and defining part of Wuling's past. It's been a journey of emulation, adaptation, learning from that model.
Right. The provocative thought, then, to consider as you go about your day is this. Will Wuling ultimately surpass Suzuki, not just in scale, which they arguably have in some ways, but in its profound ability to adapt, innovate, and grow in the rapidly evolving global landscape of accessible and practical transportation? Can they make that next leap that Suzuki struggled with?
That's the big question hanging over them, isn't it?
It's a question that continues to drive their incredible journey. We'll have to keep watching.